So welcome to another episode of the Shredder Show, and absolute pleasure today to have probably the UK's latest IFBB Pro. I don't know if it's the first time you've been called that on a podcast yet, Mr.
No, it's not.
Josh
It's
Bridgman.
not.
It's not
It's
the
the
first
first
time.
one.
Damn,
No.
if we beat to it. So thank you very much for coming on, man. So huge congrats on obviously the recent win. I was just
Thank you
saying,
very much.
how has it sunk in yet?
Yeah, like for sure. But it's definitely sunk in. Like I had my first kind of week where I was just living on cloud nine. To be fair, it lasted a long time. I still feel pretty damn good about it. So, yeah, it's all settled in now and kind of refocused, ready for the next steps.
100%. That's something I very much like, and I think you probably have that winning mindset in terms of when you achieve one goal, you've then got your eyes set on the next goal. And
Exactly.
I don't know if it's a mindset you've thought about, but when you're scaling the mountain of everything in life, sometimes you have to look back and enjoy the view. And I guess you've probably been doing that last week or so.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but like that's the perfect metaphor for it. It's just definitely been a nearly 3 weeks now of just reflection of like the last 10 years. Like I filmed a 10-year transformation video the other day, and like going back over that I was just like, shit, like this is 10 years in the making. Like it's been a long journey, but loved every minute of it.
Something I'm fascinated to get your wisdom on. So in regards to your goal from the very beginning and when you first started training, did you think this was possible?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Like when I first started, don't get me wrong, like I think goals like should be set super high, but I also think like they can be a moving goalpost, like with how you go through life and you kind of either overachieve or underachieve. Like I think it's important to take yourself back down to the ground and maybe go, okay, that wasn't a realistic goal, let's reset things. But like actually, like originally I thoroughly believed that I could be a natural IFBB pro. Like I was thoroughly believed it, and I trained like that. And then they had like a little bit of a tweak in the rules. Basically, they just said you need to be a pro physique to be a pro, as opposed to you need to have potential to be a pro, and you can have a pro card, which makes sense. It makes better sense. So for me, I was like, okay, I definitely have the potential, but I probably can't quite get there without the obviously the assisted route. So that was when my goalpost shifted from, okay, I can't do this natural pro. Am I going to go full send? Obviously, after 3 or 4 months of deliberation, and obviously the 3 or 4 years of thinking about steroids, as every bodybuilder does, I jumped in and I was like, cool, my goalpost has moved to actually, and now I'm going to do this assisted, and that means I'm going the whole way. So, yeah.
That's very much a committing to the process. Now, like rolling it back a little bit, how did you first get started into training out of interest?
All of it is through sport, really. I kind of just did the strength and conditioning stuff, like Olympic lifts and bench press and rows, kind of the typical stuff they'd give rugby players. I kind of like the progression side of it. Got injured, but was going to a university to play rugby. But because I was injured, all I could do was the strength and conditioning stuff. So I kind of just did that and fell in love with that kind of personal progression side of things. And then literally just found the fitness YouTube side of things, found competing, understood bodybuilding, and then kind of just jumped into a competition.
It's very interesting because that's exactly the same way I fell into fitness, was from rugby and a sporting background. And I don't know if, like, obviously with what you've done recently, it speaks volumes, but I think it's very much that inner battle with your own mindset, and like you don't rely on anyone else. So ultimately, your own success or failure is on your shoulders.
For sure. Like I definitely miss the competitive side of rugby, like every single day, like you with your boys, you're competitive and you're trying to beat each other and stuff, but like there's nothing quite like, you know, going lone, like for me anyway, going lone wolf and going into that place where it's you versus you. Like I really enjoy that. I thrive there, so kind of suited me more as a person, I think.
And going through obviously this journey, I think one of the things you've done incredibly well, which is one of the things we'll come on to later, but how you've built your own personal brand is obviously the success you've had through YouTube and documenting your journey. How's that like evolved and developed from over the years? Did you find a lack of confidence when you first started, like people giving you maybe a bit of grief, like why is Josh filming himself all the time, like any of that sort of stuff? Or
You know what? Like, I probably wasn't faced with that stuff. I probably had the odd comment, like everyone does, but like not directly from my friends or anything like that. I just felt a bit awkward doing it in public. Like, I felt like I had that like public anxiety of just like, of thinking, what are they going to think about me? But no one ever really said anything. Maybe the odd shout out of a window, but I wasn't faced with like true like, what are you doing? Like, my parents never sat me down like, what are you doing? Which a lot of people can be faced with that kind of stuff, especially when you don't see any return until it's like 6 years later. But I kind of had that dream in the back of my mind, and don't get me wrong, like I fell off that wagon plenty of times. Like I definitely had a few months where I didn't post, and maybe there was a little bit longer here and there, but I kind of always got back up on it. I knew it was a thing that I could take somewhere. So yeah, I never really got truly faced with like a you shouldn't do this, but it was always just like my own personal anxieties of thinking what about other people thought of me that kind of made me a bit more hesitant.
100%. And talking about hesitance, one of the things I'd be interested to find out would be what have been your biggest challenges so far over like your 10-year journey from where you start to where you are now, for example, say from maybe like a training point of view, mindset point of view, just challenges of like relationships, family, social media?
I think the hardest things, like there's definitely an impact on relationships, especially as I started getting a little bit more serious, a little bit like, no, this is like, I need to treat this like a job, you know, and when bodybuilding's a job, it's a 24/7 job. So that kind of all-encompassing mindset, and especially me, like I'm very fixated on I can make myself very fixated on a goal, and I'm not going to stop until I get there. It can affect relationships. You know, obviously it's straining. I'm sure, you know, you've been through like a high deficit before. It's straining on relationships. You can become a shell of your own person when you're going to those depths of body fat. Obviously, like I've got a fantastic relationship, and I'm lucky to have someone to support me, but it puts a strain on it. It puts a guilt on me. I'm still putting her through it, you know. So, and it's not. And I think the hard thing is it's not going to stop, because I know that I need to get to where I need to go, and I'm still going to do it next year, and I'm going to do it the next year, and it's still going to be hard next year. That's probably the hardest thing, like off the top of my head. That continual process of like just pushing the boundaries of what I can do on a relationship, but that's probably the hardest thing. Yeah.
What do you do to try and mitigate that? And like, I know obviously obviously at the moment it's obviously difficult, but you like to travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it almost like go over and above and beyond in the times when you can do, if that makes sense?
For sure, like there's definitely going to be there's going to be a little bit more of a compensation when you have the more freedom to do it. But I think a lot of it came within like the education of it, because I think I've learned this time, like the first time I didn't necessarily educate my girlfriend on what potentially could happen, like to myself, and so there were times when, of course, like I don't want to go anywhere near her. I don't want to have sex. I don't want to, you know, I don't have that urge in me, because I'm just trying to focus on surviving for like months at a time. She's like, what's going on here? And I didn't even educate her on that fact, because I'm maybe a little bit young and naive. But obviously coming into the second one, it's a lot more, I know what's going to happen, right? So a lot of it just comes in like, this is what's going to happen. I could be a little bit like this. So in those circumstances, let's just react like this instead of this. And a lot of it has been that this time. A lot of it has been like, right, I was a prick then. Can we just work out why? Okay, that's because what you said there annoyed me. So just try and like say it like this instead. And she goes, yeah, all right, cool. And then just doesn't say it that way, and it doesn't annoy me. Like, it's like there's little things that just ridiculously piss you off for no reason, which you cannot help. You just change them. And so a lot of it has been in the communication this time, which perhaps we didn't have the first time.
I think nearly everything, whether it's business, fitness, family, whatever, every fault, anything that goes wrong is generally 99% of the time is always down to communication. So I think you very much hit the nail on the head there.
Exactly.
And one of the things you said was in terms of like experience. I think every day I learn the importance of life experience, but I don't know if you're the same. When I was younger, I was like, you fucking need life experience. Like, you know, you're young and you're like, oh, you know everything. In that terms of things, to turn things on the head in terms of like a training and a nutrition side of things, who's been the biggest influences on you so far to steer you in the right direction? Because I think a lot of people get taken down the wrong avenue trying to come to the sport.
For sure. I think like the obvious choice would be Cal, my coach. Like he's obviously taken me on leaps and bounds over the few years, but beyond that, like obvious choice, I was looking for that better information always. Like I had a hunger for more information. So I didn't just settle at the guy whose video had the best like thumbnail. I kind of like actually went a little bit further in, and I'd find people like Jeff Nippard who were really thinking about bodybuilding rather than like, and there's a few aspects of bodybuilding that people go through. There's the people who are, you know, they write down every single thing in their notebook. They write down how they feel about the set. They write down how they feel that session. You know, I'm a bit more past that. I just write it in my phone. I'm cool with that. And then you have people who just go by feel. Like, there's so many layers to it. And I wanted to go through all those layers. So people like Jeff Nippard had a huge influence on me because of the science that he brought to it to a mass scale. And then even like the more bro stuff like Guzman and August used to do it back in the beginning. Like, you know, obviously if efficient macros worked and stuff, but there's better ways to do it now that we know a little bit more. But those are the guys who even put me into the right direction from the start, because there were people who were chilling out rubbish information, but those guys always did the basics pretty well. Maybe not the best, but they always did the basics pretty well. So they were a huge influence. And as I've gone through life, I've just honed in on people who are better educated, happen to be older people. They're all like 40 or 50. They all tend to have really, really good life experience and bodybuilding experience. You know, you can talk about the 3DMJ guys, huge influence on my natural career. I've been natural longer than not natural. So, you know, those guys were a big, big influence. And they don't do much different than what I do now, really. You know, I just do it to a higher degree or a more focused degree.
100%. That was an interesting answer, Jeff Nipper. I was not also expecting, to be fair. That's Jeff's a good guy, and his stuff is very good that he puts out. It's very factual based. Would you say that's very much your approach from a nutrition and training side of things? Is very much a science-based, logical approach?
Yeah, most of the time. There's definitely a sprinkle of, I feel that though. You know, like I do feeling better there when I do it like this. But like a sprinkle of it. Like I you know, I try and bring in biomechanics and things like that. You know why I think it was Jeff? Because Jeff just had like the combination of the thumbnail and title. So he got into my algorithm. So like that's probably why it was him. He was like the first person that I saw talking about it. You know? But,
that's fascinating. And what was obviously your biggest highs of your fitness career, obviously turning pro? Like, what have been the other big wins for you so far in that journey? What have been the other big milestones, do you think?
I think probably my first year assistant was a big milestone, because that was the first year when like I really even hung with those big boys. I always was just like, you know, I never did badly because my structure was good. I never really had a bad placing, fortunately, touch wood, because of the structure that I have. But I just never ever was even coming close to those first places ever, you know. So that 2019 was the true moment. I was like, okay, right, this dream is real. Like I can taste it now. You know, I'm not there. I'm actually nowhere near there, but it's the first time that I can almost like grab that dream. I mean, even before, like even the years before, I remember just feeling quite a little bit lost of like, I'm so far away from that. But I just got to keep going. So 2019 and then obviously 2021, the two biggest moments.
How did you find, because obviously you did a very long off season as well, 18 months or so, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was it.
Did you find that challenging in some respects, almost to have the patience to you're almost like sitting in the wings, you feel like, probably, I imagine, like just like you're almost like, I don't know, I always think about like Dorian Yates back in the day used to be like hiding away in his gym, like killing himself. You're probably a little bit like that. Do you know what I mean? Like you're waiting to go all the time.
For sure, to a certain extent, but like I know that's a long game. Like I put in so much time naturally. Like I just knew that 18 months of assisted use was going to be, like I knew that it was going to bring something really, really good. I could have this vision in my head. I can see what it was going to look like, and I just knew that if I took this 18 months away, so I didn't ever like. Maybe towards the end, I was like, "Hey, I could do the prep now." But you know, a good 15 of those months, I was head down, ready to just. I couldn't face losing that pro card. I couldn't at any point. You know, in my head, I hadn't had a scenario in my head where I'd got second place. It was always first. I just needed to work harder every day. So I wasn't worried about it too much because I was so focused for that goal.
What was your biggest challenge during that period? Obviously, a lot of that was obviously with all of this COVID bullshit was going on. And probably training here, there, everyone's like super stressed. How did that affect you? Because it looked like you built a pretty cool home mecca of a gym.
I did for about, I think that was about 12 weeks. For about 12 weeks, I made like a home gym. I bought a cable machine, some dumbbells and barbell and a squat rack. So I was more than okay to kind of maintain, because I went on a little bit of a deficit. So I was more than okay to maintain, if not build a bit of muscle. But from then I had access to gyms, fortunately. But in doing that, like I had to just move away from everyone to go to the gyms. So I was literally just living with my mum, unfortunately, but like I left my girlfriend at home, and I just had to keep training because of this goal I had. So literally, I've been paying for this house for about a year. I've been in here about 2 months of the last 10 months because I just couldn't train anywhere near here. So there's a lot of sacrifice going into it, and obviously people just see the videos of me training well and stuff. But like, you know, I got a FaceTime with a girlfriend who I live with every night for 6 weeks at a time and not seeing her because of what I'm doing, and then I got the guilt of that, and it's just like it's all part of the journey and the sacrifice you make. But there was a lot going into it, so that's probably the hardest thing.
I don't know if you agree, but I had not a slightly different scenario, but I ended up getting stuck in Dubai for a long story for like 2 months to start the year, and had the same situation. My wife's obviously at home here, and a lot of other people were like saying to her, like, "Are you not pissed and like really angry with Charlie not being at home?" And it's like, well, he's away, he's got to work, and this is what pays for everything. So
for sure. I mean, and my girlfriend's got the exact same mentality, but for me, I'm a little bit more of a. I'm just like, I just feel a bit bad though, because so I put it on myself a little bit hard. She's not bothered. She's got her own good, lovely life here.
That's good. How long have you guys been together?
Coming into our 4th year.
That's good. So it's long term. That's awesome to see. And I think what's good about that, I don't know if you agree, and for anyone listening, that I think having a solid and stable home background in that respect just gives you a solid foundation for everything you want to do in life.
For sure, I agree. Someone who can just keep you grounded. Someone who's not within all the bullshit. Someone who doesn't get sucked up into social media and all the other things that come along with this type of job. It's invaluable.
It's one of those things, I think, and I've had a few things recently, like if you're going to have something that's going to put you into a bit of a meltdown automatically, you then know who you suddenly go running to, and then that really makes you then realize how important those people are close to you.
Yeah, exactly.
What was her reaction when you won, out of interest?
You can hear it on the video, screaming. Yeah, it was quite a nice moment because it ended up just me and her, and that was it. So like after a long journey, a lot of sacrifice, it was really, really nice. Like she was crying, I was crying. I could see her, and it was the first time when I'm on stage. I'm in a different world, and then when everything came back to it, and I'd won, I'm looking for her. So yeah, she's just bawling. I'm bawling. I'm just like, I've done it. Yeah, what a feeling, man. I could read it that day every day.
I could see the smile on her face for anyone who's watching the video of this. In that regard, like sometimes things like that can sometimes leave you a little bit not vacant, because obviously you're super excited, but you build up this thing of like, this is this massive goal, and then suddenly you get there, and then you achieve it. You're like, oh, what's next? What was did that happen to you at all, out of interest?
Yeah, I really was a little bit afraid of that because I'd hyped up this moment for so much. The time is now, YouTube series, and everyone was following it, and there's this big pressure of this, and I didn't want to get there and be like, oh, just actually, I'm just the same as yesterday. I am the same as yesterday, of course, but it was everything I dreamed of, really, really, because I have already set my bigger goal. Like the goal I've always wanted to go to the Olympia. Right? I've always said that. Like it may have been a dream. It may have been a really, really far away dream when I said it when I was a little natty boy, and it was coming third in regionals and stuff. But like that's what I said before a pro card, because I didn't even know what a pro card was. Like, so for me to get a pro card, it really is just a stepping stone, but just a really big one, because I know how hard it is and I know what I've put into it to get there. So yeah, for me, it's just a huge, like, feels like a bounce pad. I feel like I've just got that, jumped on it, and I'm going to the moon,
100%. What would you say to anyone who's listening who is maybe the same as like young Josh when he started, who's thinking he's got like big goals and aspirations? Because I know a lot of younger guys look up to you, and what would you say to them who maybe they've got big goals or things they want to achieve and they want to try and maybe emulate you? Not that I recommend people should try and copy other people, but like they look up to you for inspiration. Like, what would your advice be?
I think there's a few things. Like, for one, like, don't let other people who may have like failed on their own like path, their own dream, like let you fail on yours, because there's a lot of people who maybe have tried and failed, and they're very bitter about it, or maybe people just aren't in a good place in their life who are gonna just like forecast this energy on you that's just not going to be positive or conducive to you getting towards your goal. So I don't want to confuse that with like ignore everyone and keep going regardless, because sometimes those people who are really close to you, your friends, your family, hopefully, who've got your best interests at heart, maybe you are going the wrong way. That does happen sometimes, and if they can pull you back, I wouldn't say just ignore them, keep going, because you're one more rep, bro. Like that mentality.
Fuck everyone else,
yeah, exactly. So it's not like that. So it's like you got to remain grounded, but slightly ignore a lot of like the noise, because there's a lot of noise that can kind of drag you down, and just like stay very, very clear to that vision. And as long as it's not hurting anyone, just keep going and really, really stick to it.
100% agree with that. I think when I first started what I doing what I do with online stuff, I remember people saying like, "Oh, why is Charlie posting photos of himself topless on Instagram? Why is he doing
Yeah,
X? Why is he doing Y? Like he's married, he shouldn't be doing this. This is inappropriate." Like blah blah blah. And then like, and I look back and I see those people now, and like, all the people who used to like just call me a dick or whatever for doing whatever I do, and then you see him now, and you know, you just give him like you just no one has to say anything, but you just know. And I must
exactly.
imagine you've got a few people like that who might have like been a bit like that with you when you were.
Yeah, for sure. I had a troll the other day on YouTube. It was incredible. What a moment. A long-term troll. I know him by name. Like, I know the name because he's come up so often, just gives me shit every single week. And he goes, I think I'm going to take back everything I've ever just said after I got the pro card. And I was just like, yeah, for sure. But I let it wash over me at this point. I've seen what the hard work has done, and I know that none of those people were going to stop it, so you've got to take that mentality.
Why do you think YouTube is so bad for trolling people? It seems to be the worst platform of anything I've ever seen.
I have no idea really. Instagram's not crazy, but there's a little bit, but YouTube's definitely the worst for whatever reason. You know why? It's because they can really get to know your personality on YouTube, so they can make a really smart troll. Like they really like dissect your personality, and you're like, ooh, gets you thinking a little bit. But it's brutal on YouTube.
What would you say to anyone who suffers with that, or is a new YouTuber or anyone like that, for example?
It's difficult, man. It's really, really difficult. I think only
Has that
show
ever
what you
affected
want to
you?
show. For sure, for sure. Like I used to put Amy, my girlfriend, on quite at the start, just because it's quite nice to have that family vibe. And she used to get comments all the time, so I just don't put her on anymore. And it was brutal. And she just was someone who didn't want to see that and couldn't take that, regardless. And actually, after those comments, it was months and months of scrolling, comments to see what else people had said because it didn't necessarily go down very well. So definitely pick what you want to put on there because once it's on there, it's on there. So that was definitely something to navigate. But yeah, pretty much. It's really difficult because as much as you want to ignore it, you read 100 comments, you hear that comment, you hear that quote, you read 100 comments, it takes that one to stand out that you just go to it and you go, why did you say that? And it gets you thinking, and you've got to fight that urge as much as possible. But you will get numb to it. As brutal as that is, you will just become numb to it. I can literally just scroll past horrible comments now, just not even acknowledge them, as good or as bad as that is.
It's someone explained it to me from a business perspective as like, and I've had to get used to this a lot, is that 5% of people in the world are generally crazy. So if you've got 1,000 customers, it means 50 people are going to be like lunatics.
Yeah.
So you have to accept that this is just going to be part and parcel of things. And
Yeah.
with YouTube, like you are, if you're getting shitloads of traffic, then you're going to be getting like 5% of those people are going to be crazy. So
For sure.
you have to be, yeah, as difficult as it is, it still affects, I think, everyone when you read things like that, no matter who you are.
100%.
But it's, I don't know. I think that's just people lashing out because their own insecurities generally.
It has to be. I just got to think think about it. Can you imagine going on there with someone you don't know and writing that type of comment? Like, think what type of mindset you have to be in to go and do that. Like, you've got to be. I feel sorry for them. That's I see that comment. I'm like, you must be in a bad place.
100%. Talking about YouTube, obviously, one of the big things you did was come out, obviously, about your PED use. Like, how was that a difficult choice for you to do in that respect, or?
It was never difficult, being honest. It was never going to be difficult. It was always going to be like that. I've always said that from the start. Back in the days when I used to make videos, if I ever do it, like I'll document the whole thing because I thought it would be cool. I thought it would get traction, and I've always wanted to just be honest anyway. And I had never seen anyone do it. A lot of people do it now, but I'd never seen anyone do it in the public eye so much. So I was definitely keen to just kind of show the process as safely as I could. The actual decision obviously was very, very difficult, but showing it on YouTube, or as I say, social media, because I don't necessarily show on YouTube because they seem to not like me doing it personally. But yeah, I was always going to be honest about it.
No, it's good. I think it's refreshing in a slightly different world we live in. I think you obviously advocate that in as a healthier manner as that can be done. And obviously you talk about the importance of that and learning and the education with that. And that big influence, that's obviously Cal, your coach, I presume?
Yeah, a lot of it will be. I do get like a lot of outside sourcing anyway. Like there's people like Victor Black, Joe Jeffrey. Like I've had 10, 15 consults with either of them. Dr. Dean as well, of course. Dr. Dean. Like these guys are like at the top level of their field. So spending time with them and talking to them and paying for seminars with them has pushed my knowledge as far as it can, well, as far as it's gone now.
That's an interesting topic you bring up, because I think obviously you're on the upward trend. I can see you explode in the next few years. One of the things I think so many people are afraid to do is invest in themselves. Do you do a lot in terms of to grow yourself, like mentally as well as obviously physically?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely like I'm obsessed with I say obsessed. Like one of my hobbies is things about finance, uh, and investing, how to grow your net wealth, all these types of things. And every single smart millionaire dude that I've ever said, the number one investment is yourself. Like it's always yourself. So I just start doing it. You know, I paid for a lot of seminars to first build my knowledge behind coaching, so I know that foundation's there. And there's investments into the YouTube channel, like currently employ a videographer. You know, that stuff doesn't come cheap. We do 3 videos a week. That's a lot of money per month that comes out from that I don't necessarily see a return from, but I know that investment pays off later down the line. We just brought on a new coach. I just brought on a designer for one of my, like, investing continuously into the future. The only trajectory for me I can see is upwards, you know. And if you can consistently invest at the right times, and at the right time. So, like, I don't think that you should go and invest in a $3,000 videographer per month if you're not earning that much money and you've only got 100 eyes on you. You know, I don't think that's worth it. If you've got 50, 100 eyes on you, get the eyes on you first, you know, generate some demand first, and then maybe make the investment. Because I don't make £3,000 off YouTube. I don't make that money back at all. I actually have to take that out of my own pocket and pay my videographer. But I know that it's worth it for the 15, 20,000 eyes that watch my every single video, to watch it at a really high quality. It's only going to get more view rates, more traction. It's going to grow me quicker in that scenario. But there's a lot of people that maybe, like, they love the idea of investing, but there's definitely investing in the right things at the right time. And I think that was something that I was very fortunate to do. I kind of grew naturally and invested naturally at the same time, or at the right times, I should say. So 100%, it's just the best thing I've ever done, is invest in myself.
I think we'll credit to you for that, because I think that's the biggest mistake I see so many people making, particularly in the fitness industry. So many people are so afraid to put money into themselves to grow or to improve their business. And like, all I do as soon as I make any money is plow it back into whatever I can, because it's like you're either buying money or you're either buying time, or you're improving your systems or whatever else you have. And like, either way,
Exactly.
you're winning. And if you're testing and trying something, there's a big thing I believe in. It's you either you win or you learn. Like, if either works or you learn doesn't work, so then you know, try something else. So there's a lot to be said for that, I think.
100% agreed.
That sort of aspect on the training side of things. Have you tried much in terms of different methodologies in terms of training, or have you always been fairly similar with the progressive overload style of things? So I know obviously you worked with JP for a while, and
Yeah. I think, like, since I've been with JP, which was a long time ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, I've honestly just done pretty low volume, high intensity, because it's just continually worked. Before that, like 100%, I've done, you know, long-term German volume training. I've done high rep, hypertrophy stuff, high volume drop sets all around. I probably didn't do it as a controlled manner as I do now. Like right now, I track obviously everything that I do of my life. I probably didn't do it back then. It was more just at university trying things. So, like, I'd definitely be interested to go back and try some of those things eventually. But right now, when the steam train is moving really, really well, I don't want to, like, fall off that track.
that's an interesting idea and brings me on to something. What do you think what are the main mistakes you've seen people making in terms of training from that side of things?
Mostly not training hard enough, to be honest. I think, like, people just don't, they're just so far away from what they think that they should be feeling within that muscle. And, like, the thing is, the reason why they don't train harder is because they probably got some initial adaptation off just training anyway. So they, you know, okay, I'm going to do a couple of sets. Well, you didn't do a couple of sets at all last week, so you're going to grow a little bit. And then they do that for a little bit and they say, yeah, this is hard. Yeah, I'm going to try and get 100 kilo bench press. So they're naturally trying to progress anyway, but you're not necessarily, you know, training as hard as it depends. You know, people, a lot of people are casual. It depends on what the listener's doing, right? I'm very much an all-in dude. Like, if you're trying to make the most of it, okay, you need to train really fucking hard. If you're just trying to improve your physique, okay, you don't need to be screaming every single rep and trying to go to those maximums every single time. So, yeah.
I think it's a happy balance of that. And I think one of the mistakes I think obviously a lot of people making is they're just inconsistent generally, like jumping from one thing to another, whatever the latest fad style of training is. And I think that has a big negative impact. In terms of your like training split going forwards, like what's your plans? Like for now, your Olympia off season in terms. I think that's the first time that's been said. In terms of that, and from a nutrition side of things, from a training side of things, what's the game plan going forwards?
So I'm definitely going to keep with men's physique. So I'm definitely going to keep my my training split geared towards my upper body a little bit more. So pretty much, I pretty much ran this for like the 6 months running into this prep. We'll probably just change things up a tiny little bit. It's actually going to be a push, a pull, biceps, triceps, a rest, back to a push, and then legs, and then I'll do pull, and then rest. So literally, I do legs once a week, and then I'm pushing and pulling twice a week. I'm doing my arms 2-3 times a week, and really just spending time pushing volume towards the upper body, because that's what needs to grow. I'm wearing shorts, you know, that's the reality of it. I'm not worried about being slightly out of proportion if I'm going to wear shorts. That is the reality of it at an Olympian level at this point. You know, if I'm going to sacrifice a session, it's going to be a leg session, for example. Doesn't mean I'm not going to catch up later in life, but for now, in terms of food, like just push back up, and we'll probably push quite hard until the end of the year. Have like a slight pullback, and then literally that'll be back into a prep from 2022 Olympia prep, maybe.
What do you have an idea in terms of weight wise what you think you'll push up to? Do you work on that basis?
Probably not work off a weight, much more a look. We'll probably stay closer to a stage weight, so I don't have to get too much off. But I do want to put 3 or 4 kilos of muscle on for sure. Like if I could be 100 kilo on stage, I think that would be a good place for me to be.
What were you when you won?
I was 96-ish.
What was the peak of your off season? What, you like 116 or something?
Yeah, 116. Yes. So 20 kilos.
And did you find that difficult to shift?
Well, I was supposed to compete. The weekend I got my pro card was supposed to be my first show. But I jumped in 3 weeks earlier after 14 weeks of dieting because I was pretty darn lean, or lean enough for a regional, which I had to do. So I did that one. I was like, I could do this one. Like, I actually tried to do Portugal was the weekend before, so I was actually competing the weekend before I was supposed to compete for the first time. So I did it in 15 weeks. I was supposed to do it in 18. So I actually jumped in a little bit easier. So it was easy to get off. Then there was a real sticky point when I was just kind of really digging for that final leadness, which was real difficult. And then as soon as I did my first competition, and once you're fat free and you can start peeling off cardio, it wasn't so difficult to sustain. But literally, it was 16 weeks from start to finish, which was I did 24 weeks in 2019, so I did 6 months in 2019, and this one was just 4 on the dot. So it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I think 6 months is a long period in a fat loss phase,
especially with drugs.
Yeah,
yeah, it killed me.
In that respect, do you ever suffer anything from like anxiety or anything like that? Because I know you're into smoking a bit of weed in a polite way.
Yeah,
chilling out a bit.
Definitely, but you know what? Like, people say, "What do you think anxiety is from?" Like, is it the drugs? Is it the weed? Is it the stress of running 2, 3, 4, 2, 3 businesses? Is it the stress of going for the Olympics? Is it the stress of social media? It's all of them wrapped into one. So I definitely face anxiety for sure, and it definitely increases when I prep for sure. And I've got no doubt that the drugs I use increase it as well. So there's definitely that aspect of things, but there's nothing severe, nothing uncontrollable.
I'd be curious to get your feedback on this. So one of the best things I've done the last 6 months is working with a psychologist to improve my mental performance and the way I think and see challenges, and it's made me a lot calmer in the face of adversity. Is that something you've ever thought about? Or I'm reading a lot about, if anyone's listening, the book Winning by Tim Grosvenor, and I've listened to his book, read his book Relentless. They're both insane. So he was a trainer for Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And the more I read that, I'm just like, this shit's insane. Like, the more you can get your mind in gear, like anything's possible.
Yeah, for sure. I've had a few sessions with a sports psychologist before. It was actually my friend, so I don't know if it worked the best because I knew him really well. So it didn't necessarily work the best. It was quite hard to be really, really serious in the thing, which I quite like to be, especially with something like a sports psychologist. I thought about it, and because I wanted to improve everything, and I didn't know what else it would bring to me, and I don't know what are my weaknesses psychologically. I mean, maybe that's why it's a good idea to go.
Become aware.
yeah, it's exactly to become aware of maybe what I'm doing wrong, and just have someone else like view it who's not emotionally involved. You know, because I don't have loads of close friends. I have my girlfriend and maybe one or two people that I talk about things with, but that's a very emotionally close group. So to have someone who can take, I've definitely thought about it. I think it's, I never know where to start or where to look. You know.
I would suggest for yourself and anyone listening, it's probably the best thing that I've done. And also, it's like I explain to clients all the time, like everything in life is just becoming aware of things, and then you're aware of. I don't know. You mentioned it earlier in terms of like pissing your girlfriend off when you're on prep. Like,
Yeah.
if you know what's triggering arguments or stuff, you can then try and sort of stop the argument before it happens, before it escalates. I mean, you put the
Yeah,
fire
for
out
sure.
before it's even started.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said from that. And from a business perspective, I think there's a lot of benefit from that as well. Like, I know one of the big things that I've been really impressed with watching from the outside what you're doing is obviously the one MR brand that obviously you're building, which is quite a unique project you have going on. Like, would you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So it is. I never really know how to coin it because I never wanted to just be like a fitness brand that just makes clothing. Like, okay, here's our clothing, support me. Because I don't know. That kind of thing has been done and done and done and done, and everyone is still going to do it, and they're doing it. So obviously, wanted to bring a little bit more of the personality side to it and the mindset to it. So obviously, it is a very mindset based brand with, you know, living that lifestyle of just putting one foot in front of the other and building on that day in, day out. Kind of how I've lived my last 10 years really towards these long term dreams and facing adversity day in, day out. But obviously there's the accessory game, and there's like, I don't say unique, and I didn't bring it to the masses. Well, maybe I brought it to the masses, but I didn't invent it. I didn't do any of this stuff. I've been taught this stuff from people, and because people watch me, they kind of just associate with me, right? So we do reverse banding to match resistance profiles, and there's things like cuffs that we do to reduce joint pressure, and all these different accessories that have been not necessarily built for their purpose, but we've started using for their purpose, to aid our bodybuilding in a more scientific manner. And I've sort of just gone in and made them a little bit more specific and made them catered to us. And I've got this, I found a niche. I found a niche in the accessories and making them a little bit more unique, making them very, very affordable as well. I noticed that there's a big upmark that these guys are doing. So made them more affordable, made them look really, really nice. And like we're slowly but surely, doing really, really well in the accessory game. So it's kind of an accessory, but also got the clothing mindset brand, and we're just building it into, hopefully the next big thing.
Yeah, I think one of the things I've seen that you've done is really, really cool. I've been meaning to buy a pair of the wrist cuffs because everyone uses like the ankle ones, and I use the ankle ones that I've got from another company, and it's just like
cardboard.
Yeah, they're like not cut your wrist, but just uncomfortable, and they're too big, and they're not really designed for purpose. So
for sure.
I think all credit to you for bringing out something that's actually specific to what people actually want to do with them.
For sure, it's been crazy. Like we sold 2,000 pairs of them, like plus.
Jesus Christ!
So like
that many.
So they're everywhere, like this. They're everywhere, and they're like we've got a backlog of people trying to order them at the moment. So we can't manufacture them quick enough. It's crazy.
You going to be next Mark Bell of the UK then? I had Mark Bell on the podcast as well. So he's a good guy.
Oh really? Yeah, maybe. Like there's a market to it. Like, I mean, there's obviously Strength Shop and there's companies like that are doing accessories, but they're just like the shop, not necessarily associated with someone. So I don't know. I just want to bring good products to the masses, and that's,
What's the lineup in terms of next products you want to? Do you have anything else in your vision board of things you're going to bring out that you're happy to talk about?
Yeah, there are some things I can say. So we got so you might have seen a lot of people use 2 ropes extended because they're trying to reduce the force angle so they can reduce the pressure that way. So we've just got an elongated rope that we've made, personalized to one of our. I don't know why no one's done it so far. I mean, I've seen a few long ropes here and there, but if we can just make the household in every gym, I've got a lot of gym contacts, so if we can get into every gym. What else have we got? I'm trying to think off the top of my head. We've basically got the whole reverse band set up. We should be all custom, all a little bit better than the normal stuff. Like I kind of customized some daisy chains, so there's a little bit more options that you can use and stuff. We've got the carabiners done. It's basically just a starter kit of biomechanics, literally, and how to manipulate things.
Kit to get massive from 1MR.
Yeah, exactly. Coined.
So in terms of from a social media perspective and your YouTube business side of things, what's your plans with that? Because obviously you're growing very quickly on that, and obviously you said you've obviously got a full-time videographer, which is awesome. Is that just to more document your lifestyle, more in terms of like, I don't know, like Christian Guzman style, like with Nabil, or like what's the thought process behind that?
I can definitely see myself more in the educational route, but not so much that it's solely educational. I'm hoping I can kiss the education box, I can kiss the lifestyle box, I can kiss the box over here, and I can kind of have a feet in a few places, so I can pull from different audiences. Because I appreciate bodybuilding is very, very niche, and the time is now is very, very niche. I don't necessarily want to stray away from that niche because I think it's a good niche and I'm doing well in that niche. But like, there's still some things that I can talk about. I just want to make it a hub of bodybuilding, you know, and a hub of all things of life improvement. And like, we're sticking to 3 videos a week. I just want to keep that momentum from prep. It's very easy to lose momentum after a prep. Like, it's, you know, you hit this huge high and then it's like, okay, we have to get the ball rolling for the next one. So I just wanted to keep it there, and just grow it. Like, I want 100K subs, I want 500,000 subs, I want 1 million subs. You know, I want to hit as many people across this world as we can. And like, I talk about real shit. We're gonna, you know, the guys at the top of the game, I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about half the time. I can't believe it. Like, just get some good information out there.
I've trained with a lot of IFBB pros, and not you in the last, I can say not you now, in the last 12 months. And every time I get left a bit, not deflated is the right word, but I just end up thinking like these people are just genetic like freaks. Like, you could just look at a dumbbell and just grow. Yeah,
I know. But I'm hoping that we can come in and shake a few feathers and just be like, this is not making sense. Doesn't work for the average Tom, Dick, and Harry. No, you got to be a little bit cleverer than that.
I think that's one of the things. I think you could be very much a strong influence, in particular in the UK, in terms of shaking things up from that side of things, because I think there's a large percentage of people who still very much in like the bro science approach of let's just throw loads of weight around, get a pump, and then eat some food, off we go. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Obviously, it works for some people, the elite. But I would probably say it works, but it might not be optimal. Put it like that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully that's the goal, just to keep climbing that ladder and climbing that social ladder, and trying to do what we can do.
100%. In terms of your network of people around you, obviously, I know you do a lot of content with, obviously, Thomas Moore, TM Cycles, and Bridgman. Have you got any plans and more collaborations and things like that together? And where are you mainly training now? So you've been floating around Muscleworks, Crayford.
Yeah, I pretty much live around that area. I live 20 minutes from both those gyms, so that's kind of where I based myself out of. Like, we're definitely going to get a lot more collaborations. Me, Tom, and Joe together. We kind of do a thing at BBC together that a lot of people talk about. Yeah, like, I want to get myself up north. I want to get up to Ultraflex, train with those guys up there. The Giant, I'll have to get with them. I want to go see the UK guys. You know, before I fly off around over. Let's like get the UK team together and do some collaborations, because like no one ever really does that. So like, I think it'd be good to bring, and we all train like that now, which is really good. Like, the guys who are slowly but surely at the top of the game, like, are actually just training like that now, like, of the UK game, that is, you know, they're actually just training like that and eating like that and talking like that. So it's good, you know.
There's a very big difference between the UK and the US, though, isn't there? In that respect?
But there is a huge
difference.
It's
like night and day.
Yeah, huge difference, crazy difference.
Like, I mean, even Dubai is even different in that respect. Like, there's just
yeah, it's mental.
I don't know if you went to Olympia Gym in Sharjah when you were there, but I remember going in there and I went in there. I was like, I wanted to do like RDLs or something. And I was like, there's like 1,000 pieces of machines in there. There was one power rack, and I was like,
yeah,
this just sums up like the Middle East for like fitness and bodybuilding. Like,
I know.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Could you ever see yourself moving overseas? I think I believe your dad lives overseas. Could you ever see yourself moving to the US or anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to live somewhere else. I'd love it. I've always wanted to live somewhere else. I don't necessarily know where. I probably wouldn't go to the Middle East. My dad's lived there for 10 years, so I'm a bit over it. I'd love to live somewhere else for sure. But I mean, obviously, being with the girlfriend, just a case of wait for her to quit her job, and then we'll go somewhere.
And then what's after that? 1MR gym, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely. Like, I've actually been looking at some spaces recently, kind of in the area, just trying to, like, I'd love to make a 1MR. Like, obviously, I'd make it amazing. Like a gym, not nothing crazy, something nice. You know, Physique Warehouse is the perfect size for me. Like, something like that, so you can have a really good atmosphere, couple 1,000 square foot, and then like have like a studio to the side of it, maybe a podcast room as well, and kind of make it a hub for work as well. I think I'd be really into that. So I've kind of been keeping my eye out and just kind of trying to learn the logistics of opening a gym or making it commercial or private, or how that kind of thing works. So it's been in the background as well.
Yeah, I think the future's certainly bright in terms of that respect. I think as well with what's happened with COVID the last year, I think there's a lot of gyms that are now up for sale, or there's a lot of equipment floating around in that respect.
Yeah,
So I think if that's something you're looking to do, I think you definitely crush it from that.
Sure.
If you were to do that, who would be, if you could train with anyone in the world, top 3 people, who would it be?
Oof.
If you get them to come to one MR gym.
Yeah, C-Bum would be at the opening party. I'm trying to think. Like, I really like those guys, man. Like Ian Valier. Like, I love the way he trains. I like his personality as well. I mean, I probably would like a lot of bodybuilders, but obviously he's got the podcast, so you get to know him. Like, I love his personality. I'm trying to think. There's got to be some UK guys. Like, I think I'd love to train with the Giant. I've always wanted to train with that guy. To see that 6'5", 300-pound frame would be mental. Yeah.
What would you want to train? And
Push,
what is your favorite session to train?
Push, because I can nearly keep up with some big boys. Because I just got a freaky overhead strength. I seen him doing like 6.5 plates on this gym shop over OHP press, and I was like, I'd do 6. I'm like, I'd love to like get in there. He's got 100 pounds on me, and I'd love to just like get in his head a little bit.
Try and wind him up and rile him up.
Yeah.
Other than that, what's the big goal in terms of like next 2 years, 5 years, or you just literally just soul bound of the Olympia and then see what goes?
Yeah. Olympia comes first. But that doesn't mean I can't grow my businesses. Like, I've got huge business goals. I've obviously got figures in my head that I want to grow these businesses to, countries that I want to hit, amount of traffic I want to go through America, and all these personal goals that I've got that hopefully I can hit over the next couple of years. But the big ones, like I've always said, like nothing will get in that way. I will turn down a big business decision in the pursuit of having to get my cardio in. Like that's what comes first, and the rest of it will kind of fall into place, I hope.
Do you struggle to try and fit everything in around fitness and training? Also, we spoke before the podcast first began about the importance of days you're not training, you just cram everything else in. Do you have a lot of structure with things like that because of that now?
Yeah, structure helps me a lot. I'm in a place right now where everything is very well balanced, I would say. Maybe maybe the last like 4 to 6 weeks is a bit unbalanced because obviously the pressure of everything and I'm traveling and whatever with the IFBB Pro. But before that and from now, like everything's very, very balanced. Like, obviously work a lot, just is what it is, but it doesn't feel like work. Still 10 hours every day, six days a week, and plus I'm still on my phone in the bed trying to do more work. So I still do that stuff, but it feels extremely balanced because I have time off, and when I put my phone down, or for example, when I turn this off, I said 5 p.m. today or 5:30 p.m. today. Like, I'm good for the day. Like, let's just leave it. So I can take that time when I need it. And that's something I've had to learn the hard way, the real hard way, just completely burning out for like 2-3 weeks at a time and not being able to like function just because I'm going so hard. But now I feel like I've got a good balance.
I think it's one of those things. It's pain is knowledge really fast. Like when you've done that and
it's the quickest way to learn it.
Oh mate, and it's like with everything. It's with training. Like you injure yourself or something like that. And you know why. Like, have you had any serious injuries before?
Nah, touch wood. Not from bodybuilding. Touch wood.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the things in terms of from a business and fitness point of view. A lot of people are short-sighted in terms of it's a longevity game in a lot of respects. Like
100%.
A lot of people burn themselves out physically and emotionally and mentally. I think if you can stay the course and you have the right mindset and the right people around you, then there's no way you can't be successful.
Yeah, completely agreed.
Which I think 100% you're on the way for. So we'll wrap things up there, Josh. It's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you and obviously hear some more of your success of obviously recent times. Where can anyone find out a bit more about you? Obviously, your YouTube channel is crushing it. You've got podcasts.
Yeah. You can just type in Josh Bridgman, Instagram, YouTube. You should find me, and it's Bridging the Gap podcast.
Awesome, Josh. Absolute pleasure to have you on, and look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you, mate. Cheers,
man. So that was an absolutely awesome episode of the Shredder Show with Josh Bridgman, the UK's latest IFBB Pro. So I hope everyone gives someone some inspiration in terms of the lengthy process it takes to get to that level and what it takes in terms of sacrificing with friends and family. Now, if you're looking forward to getting into the best shape of your life, I would absolutely love to help, and with the rest of the team at CJ Coaching. So if this is something you're interested in, drop me a message on Instagram with the word change, and we can discuss where you are now, what you want to achieve, and how we can help you get there. Or if you're interested in joining our CJ Shredding Squad Facebook group for completely free, I've got loads of educational information there and content going out constantly. You can hit the link below the podcast to join the Facebook group, completely free, to get free training from myself and the team. If you found this podcast helpful, insightful, and educational, as always, make sure you share it to your stories, tag both myself and Josh, and leave us a 5-star review, and make sure you subscribe so you get notified when the next episode goes live. And we will have Mr. TM Cycles, Josh's Padre, coming onto the podcast very, very soon.